Hey everybody, it's two5. I'm your host Mike. I'm here with nobody. It's just me. This may be a little bit of a different podcast than what you're used to. Maybe a little more introspective. Hopefully I don't get a little too lost in my mind, which tends to happen when I'm talking at length, but I hope it's a fun one. Cam is busy. He's got a lot of things going on in his life, and I desperately want to have a consistent thing go up, even if it's just a podcast. If I miss a day on a video that's this or that, at least the podcast goes up on Monday at 1, and that's something I'm going to keep striving for, even though we did have that little hiatus. I want to get back to it, and it's important for me, I think, that we that continues, because it shows not just to people listening and fans and listeners that I'm dedicated, but it shows to myself that I'm dedicated, because there was a bit of time where I was a little unsure about two5 and what my place is in it. So it's more demanding than I thought, especially for someone who has a full-time job. That job is also quite demanding, physically and mentally, and sometimes even emotionally. It's kind of hard to find the drive after that to pick this up and to keep going. And excuse me, I'm full of bananas right now, and I went running not too long ago. So man, this is gonna be a mess. But it's hard to find time, especially with our work schedule is it's very particular. You either open or you close for managers, and it's opens just late enough that the rest of your afternoon is kind of cut short, and it closes just, or you go in when you close just early enough that you really don't have an afternoon. So it kind of functionally makes a day that you work a day I really can't provide for the channel. And then I go to, on days off, obviously I have days off. You can't work more than 40 hours without getting paid out the ass, and everyone knows you can't be paid out the ass. So on days that I'm off and I'm free and I have all my time available to myself, it's kind of hard to be like, yeah, I think I'm going to spend all my free time on this channel. And no offense to people who are listening or people who choose not to listen, but it is kind of, it's a difficult suggestion or proposition is a better word for myself, to say like, put a ton of work into this thing that you are that your time is very limited in, and maybe the rewards aren't where you would like them to be. And again, that's to no one's fault, not mine, not Cam, not listeners, not my friends or family. It's just the fact of it. And YouTube is a fickle thing. It's a thing that it's a harsh environment, and things in it tend to grow very oddly. There's a lot of boom and bust for channels. Sorry, I gotta breathe. Fuck yeah, I'm out of breath from that running. It was over an hour ago, but talking at length can kind of get me winded, maybe. YouTube is a very fickle thing. Like I said, the environment is very harsh, boom and bust. Sometimes channels can go years without adopting a fan base, whereas some of them can pick them up immediately. Some split off, form different channels, and they seem to do well. It's really, I guess, about the following you had previously, because I look at channels like Game Grumps, and I love their work, and it's almost what inspired me to do this. I say almost because this is something I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to entertain, and I think the mechanics of a joke is a interesting thing to conceptualize, playing with like punchlines and setup and playing with expectations. There's a lot you can do with when it comes to entertaining and joke telling to an extent. but Game Grumps had a formula that I really respected. They played things they liked. Which, the reason why we played Paper Mario, probably not the best thing to start out a channel with, because that game really takes a long time to get going, and it's got such a niche following that I don't think it was a mistake, but maybe there was better options. Yeah, definitely. Sorry, I took a drink. Maybe there were definitely better options available that we could have started with. But yeah, going through them, it's actually kind of funny to see the length of improvement that we had, going from, where we were a little quiet, maybe it was a little desaturated, and I used that as a workhorse for to like maybe test some editing. Didn't really explore too much, but when I could, I would, and that was kind of fun. And yeah, I like 2.5. There was a post on Tumblr asking, like, what are your top 4 aesthetics? Maybe it was 5. And I had to think about that for a little bit. It was like what defines my interest, and it seems strange. Like you should almost know what your interests are, but like if I had to pick, it was 4. If I had to pick 4 things, and it's like this is what interested me. The ones that I picked was glitch. I really like glitch art, for example, music or paintings or drawings, digital art mostly. Someone posted a GIF of a corrupted Game Boy Advance, and it was the startup screen, and it was popping and clicking into place, and it had the sound, but it was a little distorted, and I just like that so much. It's something you're so familiar with, but it just seems off. Or it doesn't seem off, it is off. And it's something I enjoy in movies or music when I'm listening to it. There's a couple songs that I could probably pull up that resemble, like, oh, there's a glitch happening, like it's repeating or it's cutting into itself. The song Young and Menace by Fall Out Boy that recently came out, there's when he's singing the chorus, it's like overlapping and interrupting itself in a way that seems kind of very glitch-like, and I appreciate that. It's a good way to put you in a weird unease feeling, and that's not something I go out looking for, but you can almost like envision it. This is a roundabout way of saying it, but the opposite of deja vu. And I only fucking know this because of Metal Gear, but the opposite of that, or I should define, deja vu is something that is happening that you have never experienced before but feels familiar, and the opposite of that is something you've done many of times but feels brand new. It like plays with liminal spaces. Liminal spaces are areas in which you are completely familiar with, like a school or your work. A cafeteria, a mall, something that you've been to 100 times, but it's off. Like, imagine going to your high school or middle school or college and it's empty and the lights are off. It's the middle of the night. It's a place you've been in for a multitude of hours, and probably will be for a multitude hours more, but you expect lights to be on, you expect people, you expect noise, and it's not there. It's a very familiar yet uneasy feeling. That's kind of why I like glitch. When you like clip out of the world and you start falling and you see the background or you see underneath the world, it's a very like, oh, I don't like this feeling. Fuck, it's kind of hard to talk at length and then also need to breathe. My nose is kind of stuffy right now, probably because I ate a bunch of bananas, like I said. So I may just cut out all the extra breathing, but sometimes I need to be like, I also need a drink. is just very reminiscent of Jar Time with Jeff of Giant Bomb, where he kind of just takes listener questions, and it's something I've kind of liked the concept of. It's a very one-on-one thing. It's very much so talking into the void, like I am talking, and on the other end, people are just they're listening. So it's kind of cool. Sorry. All right, I'm gonna keep going now. The other thing I listed on the top 4 was storms. I'm very excited or excitable when the weather starts getting bad. I have often said the only good weather is bad weather, and the only way to have it gets better is for it to get worse. I just like hearing the wind and the rain and feeling the thunder and seeing the lightning, and it's a very particular, almost primal emotion, like that need of shelter. Was the hierarchy of needs, and shelter's on there, and knowing that there are the elements, the nature's wrath, the science of rain and wind culminating together, and atmosphere and pressure just coming together into this brutalizing storm that's that often keeps people home. Like, no one wants to go in that. It's fucking raining cats and dogs. And you feel this sense of safety. Like, it's weird. It's like things are violent outside, but you're safe and warm inside, and it promotes that. And that's maybe why I like it. I also like running in the rain. It's a very different feeling than running during the summer, or during a normal day. The possibly why I feel so attached to storms is that 6 years ago, the place I was living at's house was not destroyed. It wasn't to that extreme at all, but it was attacked. I really don't know how to describe it, by a tornado. Living in the Midwest, those are fairly common. And even on that day, I fucking called that storm's bluff and said, "Nuh-uh, you ain't gonna be twisting nothing around in these places." And turns out, boy, did I make the wrong call on that one. Knocked down a tree, we had like a privacy fence, ripped off part of the roof. And I tell people I had a choice. I had to go pee, and I wanted to put on socks because, socks are pretty cool, especially if you don't know what's going to be happening in the next 12 hours, or 20 or 48. Like, who knows what my life was going to be after this tornado came through. And, I could have been collapsed in on. I could have been fine. Like, it could have just went right over my house, because typically tornadoes actually, a lot of them don't just stay on the ground. They bounce. They hit the ground and they go back up, and they hit the ground and they go back up. And not all of them do this. Typically when they're starting out, this is when that's happening. It's, storms are fickle, using that word again. And I was like, well, if I'm going to put on socks, I'm going to sit down on this bed and put on these socks, because, that's a better way of doing it. I don't have to balance on one foot. I can do it quickly. I can be downstairs. I instead said, fuck it, I really need to pee, and I went pee, and lo and behold, had I put on my socks, such a, minor decision, a tree would have crashed in on me, maybe fatally, who knows. I don't live in Universe B, I live in this one. I could have been fine. I could have just been pushed with the tree and, maybe bruised and cut up, but regardless, I chose option A, and my bladder saved me from whatever fate that was going to be. And I think after that, me and my sister did the dumbest move you could do after a tornado, and we went exploring outside. Like, there was a bunch of down power lines and people needing help, and we were just wandering our neighborhood, just seeing the aftermath. And it was kind of crazy. Let's go back to liminal spaces. The tree line was severely cut down. It went from, not being able to see very far to, holy shit, that's a lot of sky all of a sudden. And, 6 years ago we were we were wandering the neighborhood, and we were uh, we were calling each other Children of the Storm, because we were like, it was me, my sister, my cousin, and we were like just children brought out because of the storm, just wondering the destruction at hand. And holy fuck, there was some destruction. House is gone, like 2-story house is gone. The roof's completely teared off. I don't think there were any fatalities. I think people know pretty, like, hey, this one was serious. Get your ass downstairs. And, in the Midwest, we have basements. Go us. So we were able to, as a community, make it through that one without, much mourning afterwards. So, again, I still need to breathe. Very, very so much alive. The Universe A thing. The third thing I wrote down was RPG classes, and this is like when it gets a little out there. I like this goes beyond just RPG classes, but I like the definition of what is a paladin versus a ranger versus a warlock versus a shaman. What some of these are kind of your standard D&D-esque archetypes, and then some of them I grew accustomed to from World of Warcraft, but like it's a celebration of differences in a way. I often associate different classes with color. Like it's a very like loose concept in my head, and the thing I often love seeing on my dash on my Tumblr is animal representation of classes. So it's like a thief who's a cat, a owl who's a healer. I have it somewhere on my dash or on my blog, and I could go find it and give better examples. But it's that kind of thing where, what makes a thief a thief? What makes a paladin a paladin? It's very like fast and loose, but it's something I really appreciate. And it's such a concept in my head, and I really wish I could explain it to someone someday. But it's the aesthetic that I just like a lot, and I can't ever find the words to explain why. And I really couldn't think of a fourth one. I shopped around and I asked some people like, hey, like what do you think my aesthetic is? And Jackie had a really good answer. That's there's a post that's guy walks into bar with a bunch of kiss marks all over his face. Someone responds, "Whoa, man, what happened to you?" The person with all the kiss marks responds with, "You should see the other guy." And that was a very good, like, okay, yeah, I could see that. That that gay/bi aesthetic that I love to champion from time to time. Sexuality is such a weird thing, but yeah, I don't know. That was a good response or a good answer, and still to this day, I haven't thought of a better one. I don't want to be like, well, by default. I didn't want to pick video games either. Like, there's so much video games I don't like that I didn't feel right saying that, like, oh, that's my aesthetic. So, yeah, I don't know. I did want to, like, I wanted to talk about E3 happened, and I don't know, it's not like really a gaming podcast or anything like that, but new Metroid came out, or was announced in September 27th. That's when it's being released, and that's super exciting for me. I fucking adore Samus as a character. She's just this badass space bounty hunter chick that fucking doesn't take no for an answer, and she keeps her cool in tense situations, and I really enjoy playing her games from Metroid on the NES all the way up to like all the Prime games, except for 3. I don't think I actually ever got deep into 3. But to see Metroid 2 on the Game Boy, a game that I played a fair amount in. I don't know if I ever beat it, but I definitely put some hours into it. See that game being announced for the PlayStation, or not PlayStation, excuse me, the 3DS, and that was always like a platform I just wanted a Metroid game on because, and Jackie fucking knows about this already, but I had this envisionment of like I wanted a creepy space game, and you're like wandering around, and you're in this cavern, and you're using the 3D, and you can see in the background like this giant fucking centipede, like just skitter across in the background, and you're like, oh fuck, that's not good. And then all of a sudden, like your foreground is like covered up. You see the underbelly as it like crawls across it, and it's like all in your face because again it's 3D. And like and you're like, oh fuck, this thing's like right on top of me. I need to get going. I need to run. I need to fight it. I like fight or flight response kicks in. I wanted that. I wanted this like atmospheric, almost like horror game, not survival horror because that's a very different genre, but like I'm like here to survive kind of thing. And obviously have Samus fucking kick ass as she always does. I wanted that for like a real long time because I have a special place in my heart for the 2D Metroids. Like Prime's good. I think the map gets a little I don't want to say finicky. Let's use wonky at times. Just because it's 3D space and you just get a little lost sometimes, and not because it's not displaying itself in the best of ways. I think it does a good job of that. I think it's knowing like, well, fuck, how do I progress? Like, what of my toolkit, what's allowing me to go further? And I just remember in 2, I got stuck on a couple like dumb things, and it's like, oh, you were supposed to fucking ride this rail or something, and yeah. Not the best way. Definitely enjoy Zero Mission and Fusion. Fusion is top for me, way more than any of the primes. Probably the reason why I never finished 3. Looked really good, played really good. Just didn't quite click into place. And I am excited for 4. That was also announced, and I can't believe that's going to be a 2018 game. Like, not in this fucking world. It's not. No way. They just are now shopping around for developers, I believe, to get it. It's like it's on day 0. No, that's not 2018 at all. 2019 maybe. Like Nintendo games are smaller in scale, so I could see like a smaller scale game getting released sooner. But they also, like, Nintendo adores its level of polish, so why, like, that should almost counteract like, oh, it's a smaller game but the polish is really high. Like, it should just be a big game without as much polish. So who knows, maybe in 100 episodes of this podcast I'll be fucking eating my hat. I'll have to go buy a hat, but then I'll go eat it. Yeah. Trying to think kind of what else to talk about. I didn't want to spend too long on any one thing. I really would like this just to be a way for people to maybe get a one-on-one interview almost with me. Just like, hey, this is Mike, and this is what he's about. I'd love to have Kamden do this on his own one time and just see what he would love or wants to talk about when there's no like, oh, what'd you do today, back and forth kind of thing. And not that that's wrong. I think podcasts have to do the recap. What, like, how was your week kind of deal. And that's my favorite part of podcasts, is that kind of shooting the shit before they get into the real stuff kind of thing, and fast and loose. So never would want to take away from that. Just want to say, holy shit, guys, I love bananas. I think I ate like 3 of them. My fucking kidneys they're going to shut down one day, and I will die. So, I mean, but bet your ass I ate a fuckload of bananas. Yeah. May end this one a little early. It looks like another 5 minutes left on the timer. Splatoon 2 came out. Definitely want to pick that up. Don't know if I'll play it on the channel. That's the thing. Like me and Cam really stepped away from playing video games just because like that market's oversaturated. A lot of people play video games, and that's awesome, and I'd love that to be part of my life, but like that's not how I'm going to enter the YouTube developer or like content creator section. Like playing video games is old hat now. I have to, and it sucks. There's a couple gimmicks I wish I could just take from people, but I feel weird doing that. Like I feel like let me start over. I feel bad repurposing ideas like that. That's their idea. That I'd like to believe I'm creative enough to come with my own, but you know, it sucks because like, doesn't this shit happen all the time? Don't people just take other people's ideas? It's all about execution, not about the thought. But I just don't know if I could do it. Yeah. Like, obviously, going back before, this channel takes inspirations from, obviously, Matt and Ryan. They have a podcast, and Game Grumps. We had a formula or format similar to them where we would play, new games, and it's a two-guy situation, me and Cam together, while one of us plays the game, and we both talk about it, and that worked. Nothing against Cam. We've talked about this off mic a couple times, but like our dynamic isn't the strongest compared to maybe Aaron and Danny from Game Grumps. They definitely know how to riff off each other a little bit more, but yeah, I'm not done with the channel. Obviously, I'd like to maybe ease my workload in different ways. I didn't post 3 videos last week. I only posted 2, and I'm like, I kind of like that. I want more time to not just make videos, but to like craft them into a more complete package. So we have a Patreon, and this is not me plugging our Patreon, but it is patreon.com/two5. Sorry. And we do get quite a bit of money a month, no lie, and that's from awesome people, like possibly the people listening to this. And hey, if you're not donating to our Patreon and you're still listening to this, you're still pretty fucking awesome in my book. But we do get money, and I've been saving some my own money from my paycheck each month, or not each month, but each paycheck. And I think the next thing I want us to get, and Cam already knows about this, so it's not going to be a huge surprise for him, or a surprise at all. I want to get cameras, because I think like having cameras would add a more dynamic video for us to provide. Like audio is audio. Audio is never going to change. Audio is great. I spend a lot of money on our audio, and I will continue to spend the right amount of money on audio. Not like extravagant amount. I'm not going to keep throwing money at it, but I definitely want to pick the best option for what I want to do. And I just think adding a video component to it will really tie things together. It will make things less like, here's the black video, enjoy. There are some days I feel that I am attractive, others that I do not. That just goes hand in hand with, spending X amount of time overweight, and still overweight in some regard. But like, I think like when you add a personal touch to things like this, you see the person who is talking to you. You maybe just get a better connection with them, and our jokes play a little bit better. I don't know. Who knows? Well, it's down the line. It's not anytime soon. But so it's been 30 minutes, and man, my nose is really stuffing up. I fucking would love to know why, but I think it's a good time to end this. So thank you for listening. Me ramble on. Hopefully I was able to stay on course effectively enough for the whole time. There's not more. I like podcasting, and I don't think there's a better outlet for me than podcasting, and I definitely don't want this to stop. So, thank you again for listening. We'll catch you next week. We should have that D&D video I keep talking about coming up next, possibly Friday. So keep a lookout for that. Thanks, guys. Bye.